What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Cosmic Wonder. I'm Warren Thompson, and we're going over all of the biggest important details of Secret Invasion Episode 2. Like Nick Fury being married. Now, he mentioned this in Captain America: The Winter Soldier, but it was never really brought up again. And of course, the big question about this is, does he know that his wife is a Skrull? She was in Skrull form, but then she changed to human form when she heard him come into the house. That, and we found out that Gravik is indeed creating Super Skrull, and he's using Groot and Cole Obsidian to do that, plus the Extremis. This could turn Gravik into one of the strongest villains out there, plus not to mention he is super cold-hearted. He'll kill anyone. He'll kill 2,000 innocent civilians, including kids, or he'll simply kill his own people. Which makes sense because in my interview with Kingsley Ben-Adir, who plays Gravik, he said that Gravik trusts nobody, and nobody can actually trust him.
Love that.
Yeah, I don't think he trusts anyone.
Well, and that's a great part about the show is on both sides, nobody knows who they can trust. And that's very apparent. And I've really, that sort of ambiguity of the show I really, really love. But that's great that you said that because I think it's very real. I think a lot of people can get untrusting and just blind by rage and just say, I have to do all this myself, for myself, and I'm doing what I want because I'm in it alone and I was betrayed. So I think it's very real.
Yeah, that's exactly that was exactly my thought. Okay. I was like, here's a guy who's operating on his own terms, like he's eating shit his whole life, and now he's
not anymore.
No, he's saying you're gonna eat my shit. Yeah,
love it, and that's what makes him a great villain.
So we'll start with the first extremely important scene. We start off with a flashback to 1995, the events that took place in Captain Marvel, where Nick Fury discovered that the Skrull were among them and they needed a new home. And Nick Fury realized that the Skrull weren't actually bad. It was the Kree who were bad and drove them to Earth. Seemingly the Skrull left Earth, but flash forward a couple of years to 1997 and it shows us Nick Fury meeting with the Skrull who are on Earth. It shows us Vara, who could be Nick Fury's wife, more on that in a bit, but Vara introduces him to Gravik, our main villain of the show, who when meets Nick Fury refuses to greet him in the Skrull way, touching their foreheads, kind of foreshadowing the fact that he's not really trusting of Nick Fury. But Vara goes on to explain how talented and skilled he is, again setting up the villain to be a huge threat. Now, eventually he lets Fury greet him in the proper way, touching his forehead, and this sort of sets up the trust that he had in Nick Fury and the rest of the Skrull had with Nick Fury from the very beginning, which fuels the entire series. Talos says that the Skrull who came to Earth did so for one reason: Nick Fury. And Talos stresses how much he trusts Nick Fury, and he says he doesn't use that word lightly. So the rest of the Skrull decide to trust him as well, and Nick Fury makes a promise. If they will take human form and not expose themselves and help Nick Fury, then he and Carol Danvers, aka Captain Marvel, will find them a home. And again, this fuels the entire show because right now, flash forward to present time, Nick Fury and Carol Danvers have not kept their promise to the Skrull. So because of that fact, many Skrull are no longer with Nick Fury and Talos. They have actually gone with Gravik, who has started a resistance against not only the humans, but other Skrull as well. Then we pick up where we left off on the end of episode 1. Nick Fury is over Maria Hill, and yes, she is dead. They have a funeral for her, and Nick Fury even has some pretty hard moments with her mother. And in a few recent interviews, Cobie Smulders has said that's it, her character is done. Now, of course, this is Marvel Studios, and if she's not actually dead, she's not just going to come out and say that. But for the meantime, it does truly look like Agent Hill is sadly gone. Now, from the scene, somebody takes Nick Fury away, throws him in a van, and it turns out to be Talos. Talos saved Nick Fury. Meanwhile, the Skrull disguised as an American is yelling, I'm an American, as he gets captured, and this is for a very specific reason. The Skrull want Russia to believe that this was an American attack, and they are successful in doing so, as we discover in this episode. Then we cut to the train scene, which tells us something that is extremely important to know for the series and really the MCU moving forward. This is a very impactful scene. Fury and Talos are on the train, and Nick Fury starts to tell him about a game he used to play with his mother. It's a nice scene, and the two of them appear to be bonding. However, this, of course, is a tactic Nick Fury is using. He says, tell me something I don't know about Skrullos and the destruction of Skrullos. And basically Talos tells him that there was 1 million of them that fled, and now those 1 million Skrull are on Earth. So right now in the MCU, there are 1 million Skrull in the population of the planet that the humans really have no idea about. Nick Fury himself didn't know about. He thought that there were only a handful of Skrull on Earth, maybe 100, a couple of hundred. He had no idea that there were millions, and that is why this is called Secret Invasion. And here's where the fun kind of begins, at least to us, not to the characters in the show, because we have no idea who is a Skrull and who is not at this point in time. And many insiders have stated that there's going to be a Skrull reveal that is going to break our hearts, meaning that there's going to be a character who we didn't know was a Skrull be revealed to be a Skrull that is going to break our hearts. And right now, our best guess is on Rhodey. And we'll talk about that in just a little bit, but first let's continue to talk about how the Skrull have severely impacted Earth, becoming the leaders of some huge countries. And the Skrull High Council group is basically running the world. One of the members, Pamela Lawton, is the UK Prime Minister. Sergio Caspani is the NATO Secretary General. And Shooter McGavin, I mean the character that Christopher McDonald is playing, Chris Stearns, is a high-powered political person as well. And we assume the other two members who are on the council are people of power. Now we find out that Gravik was not invited to this council meeting, and that is because they were meeting together to determine the punishment that Gravik is going to receive for disobeying the council and essentially causing war. However, Gravik enters and says, "That is what I want. I want war because Nick Fury promised us a home and we don't have it yet. So I'm going to take Earth as our home for the Skrull." And he talks about how humans are basically destined to kill themselves because that's what they've done in the past. So when it comes to killing innocent humans, they're only kind of speeding up their destruction because he believes that eventually they will cause a destruction of themselves, or ourselves, I guess I should say. So Gravik, who has seemingly teamed up with Pamela Lawton, the UK Prime Minister, becomes the Skrull General, and the Council, all except for one, stand behind him, and essentially this is the agreement for all Skrull to launch a war against the humans on Earth to take Earth as their own and make it their home. And again, all of them are super pissed because Nick Fury did not deliver on his promise. Him and Captain Marvel did not find them a home. And not only that, but both of them just sort of abandoned the Skrull altogether. So they've had it, and now it's war. And Gravik has a secret weapon for war, and that is seemingly to make Super Skrull. Now in the comics, the Super Skrull was one character, a character that was given special powers by the Skrull Emperor Doric. He was given these powers to defeat the Fantastic Four, and the powers that he received were actually a combination of each individual character's powers from the Fantastic Four. So he was given the ability of flight and pyrokinetics, given the ability of invisibility and force fields. He was stronger than the Thing and could stretch further than Mr. Fantastic. The key points here being he has all their powers, but better, stronger. And what's interesting is that is basically what is happening here, minus the Fantastic Four. Right now, Gravik is sort of the Skrull Emperor. Now he is using scientists to create a Super Skrull serum, essentially. They have made this device that is going to take the powers of certain specimens and give them to Skrull. And we've actually seen him kind of use these powers in some trailers. His arm kind of goes out like Groot's arm, but it extends like Mr. Fantastic's arm. And when Gaia is examining what is happening here and goes on the computer, she can find specimens they've taken from Groot, from a Frost Beast from Jotunheim, from Cull Obsidian from Avengers Endgame and Avengers Infinity War, and they even have samples of the Extremis from Iron Man 3. And this basically tells us that some of the powers that the Super Skrull or Gravik is going to have are pretty similar to some Fantastic Four powers. For example, the Extremis could give him the power of fire, pyrokinetics. The sample from Groot could give him the power to extend his arms and body parts like Mr. Fantastic. Cull Obsidian samples could give him super strength like the Thing. And the Frost Beast, well, that could simply give him some ice powers as well. So Gravik as a Super Skrull is going to be a pretty big threat. Now, the next important scene is Rhodey. Rhodey is dealing with the effects of Russia, and he's pretty pissed off at Nick Fury. Now, in this scene, it's super important because people believe that Rhodey could be a Skrull. A lot of fans are in disbelief at this scene because Rhodey basically isn't helping Nick Fury out at all. In fact, it's the opposite. He fires him, and he pretty much dismisses the fact that the Skrull could have already invaded Earth pretty easily. Plus, one of Rhodey's initial reactions to what Nick Fury was telling him was to call their friends, aka the Avengers. Now, Nick Fury dismisses this quickly as well because he knows that Skrull could simply take on the identity of Avengers and all of a sudden the Avengers are terrorists, but perhaps that is what Rhodey, or this Skrull disguised as Rhodey, wanted, because that would be what the Skrull resistance would want. They would want chaos on the Earth, and what better way to cause chaos than to take your heroes and make them villains? But of course, the argument can be made that Rhodey is simply upset with Nick Fury as well, and has taken his job where he's at now very seriously, and is concerned with protecting the United States, and might think that Nick Fury is not the same Nick Fury. He's not the man he used to be, and he can't handle this task that's in front of him, which could be why he fired him. But let us know your thoughts about this down below. Is Rhodey a Skrull, or is he not? Is he just Rhodey? Now, the next scene is with Sonya Falsworth and the Skrull Brogan. And this scene is really meant to show us just how intense two characters are, Falsworth and Gravik. Falsworth, in her ability of interrogation and her ability to get secrets out of people that she tortures, and her ability to escape. Basically showing us here that she is a threat. She is not someone you want to mess with, and if she is going to go up against Fury, then Fury is in trouble. Although I do believe that they'll end up working together. And then we have Gravik. Gravik comes in and just absolutely murders everybody there. And the people there did seem to be working with, at least in part, with MI6. But Gravik shows absolutely no mercy and wipes the floor with them. And then to top it all off, Gravik does not trust that Brogan kept everything a secret and only told Falsworth lies, and he ends up killing him. Well, he has Pagan do it, but he is the one that made the decision that Brogan is going to die. He can't trust Brogan, and in the interview, he revealed that Gravik actually can't trust anyone. So Gravik is not beyond killing, obviously. He killed 2,000 people in the very first episode. He killed these operatives in this episode, and he killed one of his own. And that's what this scene showcases, Falsworth and Gravik doing whatever needs to be done to get their job done. Now, the last scene has caused a lot of debate and a lot of theories out there with Marvel fans. Nick Fury goes home, and he goes home to his wife. However, before Nick Fury enters the door, his wife, or the woman inside, is a Skrull. Then when Nick Fury gets inside, she is no longer a Skrull. So this begs the question, does Fury know that she is a Skrull? There are some things that point to the fact that Nick Fury probably does know that she is a Skrull. This could be Vara from the beginning of the episode, the one that introduced Fury to Gravik. Now, there's two scenarios here. One, Fury met and fell in love with Vara, the Skrull, and he knows that she is a Skrull, obviously. Or two, Vara is actually secretly working for Gravik and the other Skrull, and she has infiltrated Fury. Now, there is a scene in the beginning as well where Vara puts her hand on Gravik's shoulder. On her hand, we can see a ring. And it seems like they are making a point to show us this because they start with the camera focused directly on the ring, or at least her hand. Now, it is on her right hand, but we don't know what significance a wedding ring plays for Skrull. Maybe Skrull don't use wedding rings to show that they're married, and if they do, maybe they put them on the right hand. It is on the ring finger of the right hand, so perhaps this could show that maybe they were even married or engaged back then, because this was in 1997, a couple of years after Nick Fury did find out about the Skrull. Perhaps they got engaged. Plus, not to mention, there are some photos on the wall when Nick Fury walks in that look to be humans kind of taking different forms. These could be art that Nick Fury and his Skrull wife picked out together and liked because of the fact that his wife is a Skrull, and Nick Fury obviously has companionship with the Skrull. It would also be surprising to learn that somebody has infiltrated Nick Fury. He is the spy, to quote Tony Stark. So odds are he probably does know that his wife is a Skrull. He probably married her knowing that she was a Skrull. But go ahead and let us know your thoughts about this in the comments down below, and let us know what you thought of episode 2 of Secret Invasion. Also, only a couple days left in our giveaway. If you want to enter for a chance to win an Xbox Series X, a PS5, some Marvel Legends items, or some DC items, be sure to subscribe and leave a comment down below. This enters you in our giveaway. We pick a winner at the end of each month. The winner gets to pick one item. You can also check us out on Patreon, on Discord, and you can check out our website as well. We'll link all of those down below, and you can follow us on Instagram and Twitter. As always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.